To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's going on? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for The House by the Cemetery. Written by all of these lovely people and directed by our Lord and Saviour Lucio Fulci, The House by the Cemetery stars all of these. A New England home is terrorized by a series of murders, unbeknownst to the guests that a gruesome secret is hiding in the basement. How's it going, my demented doctors determined to dissect and destroy? It's that time again. Time to check out our third Lucio Fulci movie of the month as we come to the end of the Gates of Hell trilogy. It's been a wild ride. I really love City of the Living Dead and the Beyond, so cannot wait to end this trilogy with yet another banger. Right? Right? The House by the Cemetery is heavily influenced by H.P. Lovecraft and the gothic novel The Turn of the Screw, and while I can see the latter's influence, I'm not quite sure how the former applies. Is it by the fact that some of the shit just doesn't make a lick of sense? Quite possibly. There's one very specific thing in this film I'm gonna need answers for, but we'll get to that when we get to it. And then there's Bob. Oh, Bob. I was warned about Bob. Will this end the trilogy on a high note, and how many eyes am I gonna get to see ripped out of people's faces? Let's find out. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you, you can see this video completely uncut and early at patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons for as little as $3 a month. That's it. Want to see the uncut videos, the Patreon exclusive videos, and gain access to the Discord? Go over there now. Also, my short film, Better Anything, has been completed. Right now, we're trying to send it out to festivals, so any money that you could donate to help us do that would be amazing. I really want to do my best to make sure we get as many eyes on this film as possible before the YouTube premiere, which will be happening next year, so please do whatever you can to help us achieve that. But anyway, I'm in a mood to meet whatever the f*** is living in that basement, so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to take a shot every time somebody calls out somebody else's name. Don't do that. This is The House by the Cemetery. The movie begins at a cemetery as we pan over to the house right by it, hence the title. Cut inside as this woman puts away her rockin' tits and calls out for Steve, who I assume she just banged. Also, the first and only pair of tits in the entire trilogy. I'm shocked as well. Don't worry though, Fulci does make up for it in the next film of his that I'm gonna cover. She wants to leave and goes in search of her man, calling out for him over and over again.
Steve? Steve? Steve?
And that's when she finds the poor fella looking extremely dead before catching a kitchen knife to the back of the head. We zoom in on her ring for some reason when her mouldy attacker drags the body into the darkness of the cellar and shuts the door. Cut to the opening credits and quite possibly my favourite music of the entire trilogy. Certified banger right there. The credits end as we see this kid at the window and the image morphs into a photograph as we're transported to New York to meet this other kid, Bob. And as I've said, I've been warned about Bob. Everyone's telling me he's super annoying, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. He can't be that bad. His mother, Lucy, played by series star and love of my life, Katarina McCall, enters and tries to get Bob's attention.
Bob, will you please wake up? When Daddy gets home, we got...
Mommy.
What's the matter?
Mommy, why does that girl keep telling me I shouldn't go there?
You see? He's fine. Lucy asks what girl and Bob points to her, so Mum goes in for a closer look, finding nothing.
Look, we don't have time to play games now, honey. Daddy'll be home any minute. Now, where's the...
I guess she had something to do.
No. He's fine. He's not annoying me. The pair then leave to get ready for their move as the girl reappears in the picture. Cut to the real life house in Whitby, Boston, as a woman calls out for this little girl May, telling her it's time to go. May says she can't go now, that it's important, as we cut to the New York Historical Society and meet Norman as he discusses taking over Peterson's work, seeing as Peterson done himself in.
Well, no reason. Abandoned everything. Slaughtered his mistress
And there he was, researching suicide.
I get it. Anyway, his colleague f***s off as we cut to the family packing their things into the car. Here Lucy asks Norman if he's been to see Peterson's wife, and he responds,
What do you say to a widow whose husband had another woman and who one fine day slaughtered that other woman, after which he himself?
Hello everyone, here's my top 5 things to say to a woman whose husband had another woman and one fine day slaughtered that other woman, after which he hanged himself. Number 5. Whoops! Number 4. Have you ever considered this might be all your fault? Number 3. So I guess you're single now then, eh? Number 2. Are you gonna miss the taste of his Me and you both, love. Number 1. Hey, love, how about you stop that crying and go and make me a sandwich, yeah? And be quick about it. This ain't gonna eat itself. The family then leave and we cut to May looking at this creepy mannequin for a minute before going back to the family arriving in Whitby. Then back to May. No! Not the mannequin! Actually, that's just given me an amazing idea. Real dolls that bleed when you cut them. Accidentally, of course. The family pull up at the real estate office and leave Bob in the car as they go inside to sign forms and pick up the keys. It's revealed this is the same house Peterson killed his mistress in when the agent, Mrs. Gittleson, asks if Norman has been there before.
No.
Very convincing, Norman. You're acting like my dad after someone asks him if he loves his kids more than eating. Cut outside to Bob as he's telepathically contacted by May, who's across the street. She says she knows why the family is here, but reminds him she told Bob not to come.
My name is Bob. My daddy's here to do some research.
This dub is not doing Bob any favours, I must say. The parents leave the estate agent to see Bob is missing from the car, but quickly spot him playing with May's doll.
She wanted to talk. She lives here too, you know that?
Stay there, not to move.
But she called to me.
Cut to the family at the house as they're given the keys and Gittleston f***s on off out of there. Lucy mentions this house looks the same as the one in the picture Bob was looking at, but Norman fobs her off, saying there's probably hundreds of houses in the area that look just like it. She then has an ominous stare at the house as we cut inside to see everyone settling in. Lucy shares her concerns, saying maybe her and Bob should have stayed in New York, but Norman tells her to treat it like a vacation and to think about that extra $5,000 a year bonus. Which would be nearly 20k in today's money, making it kind of worth it. Honestly, the things I'd do for 5k would turn your hair white. Even £5 and a handshake could get you something. Lucy then picks up May's doll and starts freaking out, but when Norman tells her to take her pills, she says she's fine. She then breaks away from Norman, saying she read somewhere those pills can cause hallucinations, which I'm sure will be used as an excuse for seeing loopy later. They then mention the cellar door has been nailed shut, but when Norman offers to open it up, Lucy instead asks him to sort out the bedrooms.
Tonight I'd rather sleep in a real bed. Wouldn't you?
Shut the f*** up, Bob! You've been making that noise for the entire scene. We're trying to share a tender moment, okay? Just stop with the car noises. Please. Norman then buggers off to do that as Lucy tells Bob to take a nap.
No, I want to play.
Don't whine.
And she's met by this woman.
Mrs. Gittleson sent me over. I'm Anne, the babysitter.
Mannequin lady? In the flesh? Nice. Her head's still attached, but I'm sure we can fix that. Cut to later that evening as Norman passes a sleeping Lucy to do some work. He takes out a folder labelled Freudstein, but when he opens it up, finds nothing inside. He then begins to hear creaking around the house, as well as a crying child and some scary breathing. Norman goes to investigate the crying and finds Bob, thankfully Sparko, asleep. He checks on the boy, then hears another creak, so goes off in search of its source, tracing it to this room.
Anne.
Kisses? Oh, for f***'s sake, dude, fine. But if you're not gonna kiss her, can you at least ask her what she was doing with a cellar door at this time of night? Then kiss her. Cut to the next day as Norman and Lucy walk. Mrs. Gittleson passes by and seemingly ignores Lucy when the pair split off, and we cut to Norman at work with this fella discussing Dr. Peterson before he went all murdery. And that's when the colleague mentions something strange.
What was he so eager to discuss with you back then?
Back when?
When you came to visit him with your daughter, don't you remember? Last October, I think it was.
I never paid a visit to Dr. Peterson. In fact, this is the first time that I've set foot in this town.
Well, what the f***'s going on there then?
You called me?
Oh my god, it's wet-faced Arthur from the beyond! This is actually Daniel, who the other fella says can get Norman any documents he so desires. Daniel then asks Norman if he'll be continuing Mr. Peterson's research, and he confirms he will be. Daniel then shows him a bunch of death reports, medical certificates, and missing persons, which confuses Norman as that wouldn't be pertinent to Peterson's research. Daniel agrees, but says Peterson told him it was for a private project. Could this all be linked to the stabby man in the cellar? Quite possibly. Anyway, before Daniel leaves, he gives Norman one final piece of information.
You know where he himself? There. From that railing.
Coolsies. You know, Daniel, you might be a lot drier in this one, but you're still a weird. Cut to Bob going for a woods walk when he stumbles on the grave of Mary Freudstein, who's fit as
You know who that lady is, Bob? She was the wife of Dr. Freudstein.
Who's Dr. Freudstein?
Oh, and it's all a lie.
What's all a lie?
She's really not buried there.
Nice and vague, just how I like my exposition. And when the is someone gonna get their eyes ripped out? It's been 30 goddamn minutes already. Back with Norman, he's looking through notes when he reads about Dr. Freudstein, who in 1979 was banned from practicing medicine for some reason. Cut to Lucy cleaning up when she finds a very Evil Dead looking trapdoor. She finds a cross in the dust and underneath it the name Jacob Tess Freudstein, which is funny because Tess is a girl's name. Also, it's not a trapdoor, it's an indoor tomb, which is apparently a thing. Lucy then starts to hear more banging around the house, so heads to the kitchen calling out for Bob and Anne when things get noisy.
Bob? Anne? Bob? Anne? Bob!
I know this is supposed to be ghosts or whatever, but I like to imagine it's Norman upstairs absolutely railing the f*** out of Anne. Cut to Norman arriving home but finding it empty.
Lucy? Lucy?
Christ almighty, this thing has more scenes of people calling out other people's names than a Friday the 13th movie. Norman then finds Lucy upstairs in the corner crying and gives her a hugger as we cut to Pills and Lucy waking up in bed to see Norman. He asks how she feels and she seems a lot better. They then take a walk and the pacing of the dialogue here is hilarious to me.
Most of the old houses in the area have tombs in them. Really?
No kidding.
It's because in the winter it freezes here.
Is that so?
Yeah, and the yard being like a rock, they'd bury Grandpa at home. No more ghost talk now, huh?
Okay.
Come on, I've got a surprise for you.
What is it?
What the f*** was in those pills? Speed? Norman then shows Lucy he has the cellar door keys and goes to pop it open when Bob and Anne return. Bob then mentions he saw his new girlfriend May that day and she told him to say hi to his parents. Lucy asks Anne if she's seen this mysterious girl, but she says she didn't and she was with him the whole time, which we know is a lie. Cue some interesting editing. Stop teasing me, Fulci. I want to see those eyes out of their heads and in a zombie's hand. Our heroes then manage to make it inside and Norman goes to investigate, finding the ring from the girl in the opening. Norman pockets the ring when suddenly he's attacked.
Norman! Anne!
Why did you shout like that?
Oh, thank God. It was just a bat. Everyone calm down.
No, it's just...
Jesus Christ, what is this problem? Oh yeah, Norman, don't help or anything, mate. Norman eventually does help and Lucy books it as he gets a bite on the hand for the effort. He somehow can't pull the little off, so instead takes it upstairs and violently stabs it to death with scissors. And it still won't let go. Good Lord, finally! But you do have AIDS now. I think that's how that works. Cut back to the estate agents as this fella says he'll tell Mrs. Gittleson they want to move out as soon as possible. We then see the bloke telling Gittleson about their issues and saying they can call the property Oak Mansion as much as they want, but it will always be the Freudstein place.
Yeah, give the bad product a new label. Well, call it what you will, but it's always been Freudstein's house.
Cut to May as she's approached by the mysterious woman again and told it's time for bed.
Don't go inside.
Alright, I won't. Not because of the evil, but because all's going on. Cut to Gittleson going to the house as she's watched by the heavy breather. There's more calling out for Lucy when she hears some footsteps and goes to look, trapping her foot in the tomb. The killer then finally appears and does to her what I'd like to do to every estate agent I've ever met. For legal reasons, that was a joke. Yes! Finally! That was juicy as f***. The killer then drags Gittleson down to the cellar and we cut to morning. Cat! Cut inside as Anne tries to clean up the blood the killer so carelessly left behind. She's joined by Lucy who asks her what she's doing, but Anne just says she made coffee. Why the f*** she didn't ask about all the blood on the floor, I'll never know. I guess if it's out of frame, it doesn't exist. Lucy then tries to make small talk, but Anne just ignores her.
Do you live far from here?
Oh my god, are they gonna kiss? Oh, for f***'s sake, is it such a crime that I want to see Katerina McCall's scissors stupid? Just these two beautiful women smashing their fannies together like they're trying to start a fire. I don't ask for much. We don't even ever get to see her tits. I wish I was dead. Cut to Lucy bringing Norman coffee and mentioning how weird Anne is. They then talk about Peterson's research on Freudstein, who had a penchant for illegal experimentation. Seeing as that had nothing to do with his research subject, Norman thinks Peterson must have already been going crazy at that point. Norman then breaks the news he's going to have to take a trip back to New York to find a connection between Peterson and Freudstein.
That's why I have to take a trip to New York.
Today?
Yeah.
Cut to Norman back at the library when he's discovered by Daniel acting super weird as per usual.
Ah, it's you.
Surprised?
Well, it's Sunday, and I thought...
I know.
Norman takes another look at the hanging bar when we cut to Bob running. He lands at Mary's gravestone and we see he's been playing with May.
Don't go in the house, Bob.
Don't worry, I'll just fake it a minute or two and then sneak out again. See ya.
He then heads home and they agree to meet in the oak tree later. Some of the editing in this movie is just so abrupt and I love it. Back with Norman, he pops in a tape recorded by Peterson showing he may have been a little bit out of his mind.
What can I do to make her believe me? Maybe I'm insane. Yes, this is all unreal. Freudstein's house draws me like an infernal magnet and frightens me.
That's just like the voice messages Cassidy gets from me on a daily basis. Nothing to worry about.
The smell of blood. How many more still to come?
Yeah, nothing out of the ordinary at all.
No! No, not the children!
And Bob's dead! How could this day get any better?
And they're on the starting grid set for the big race, Yogi. On your marks, go!
In response to this tape, Norman pops it in the fire and drives away as we see him being watched by May. Cut to Anne walking up the stairs as Bob continues to race that car, then to Lucy shopping as ladies do be doing. She spots Norman, but he drives on, and so she crosses the road without even so much as a nod to the driver that stops for her. Cut to Bob losing his little car somehow and going looking for it in the cellar. Honestly, I'm just surprised he's not calling out for the car by its name.
Bob, Bob, Bob.
Ah, there we go. Anne starts to hear Bob crying from the cellar and goes down to find the poor sod, only to have the door closed behind her as we see Bob is in the house totally fine. Then this knife-wielding hand pops out looking a lot less zombified than the previous killers. Anne bangs on the door terrified and begging to be let out, but Bob being Bob is absolutely useless. And this is when poor, beautiful Anne, who's had 2 opportunities to show us her tits, catches a knife to the neck once, twice, 3 times decapitated. Now someone explain to me, what the fuck is going on here? I thought Anne was evil and working with whatever's going on in the basement, cleaning up after it and the such. Now she's getting her head cut off? I don't understand. Maybe she was sent there by the estate agent to cover up what was going on in the basement so that they would stay in the house? I don't know, whatever the reason, I'm just pissed off we don't get to see where she shits from. Anyway, Bob goes to the kitchen and calls out for Anne.
Anne! Anne! Anne!
Because of course he does. It's all anybody ever does in this f***ing movie. Anne has her pretty little head bowled at him. Jesus Christ, Bob. Half the dogs in Boston just lost their f***ing minds. Maybe this is what made Dickie attack Milky-Eyed Emily and the beyond. Unfortunately, Bob is able to make it out of the basement after briefly getting his hand stuck, and we cut to Lucy arriving home.
Bob? Anne? Bob? Anne? Bob? Bob!
It is crazy that I am finding the constant calling out of people's names way more annoying than Bob could ever be. Lucy finds Bob crying in his bedroom and he tells her about Anne's decapitation, but instead of getting the fuck out of there, she decides to investigate with her child. Like he'd ever go down there again. They don't find anything, and although Bob says it did happen, his mother of course doesn't believe him. We then see these eyes in the darkness as the pair hear a bang upstairs and head to the kitchen. Cut to Norman in another cemetery as he searches for Dr. Freudstein's tomb. It seems Peterson also came here searching for that tomb, but the caretaker says it isn't actually here. It's at the house, but we already knew that, and forgive me if I'm wrong here, didn't Norman? I know he got told about the indoor tomb, did he not look at the name? Cut to Lucy putting Bob to bed, telling him Anne must be visiting her parents or something. Bob isn't convinced though, instead getting up out of bed and going back down into the cellar again.
Anne!
Stop calling out for people! Bob asks Anne if she's not actually dead like Lucy said and keeps calling out when of course the cellar door locks. He then sees the eyes again and realizes he's made a terrible mistake booking it back up for the door. He starts banging to be let out.
Bob?
And Lucy tries to open the door but is unable to when the key breaks. She then tries to jimmy it with a knife but that breaks as well. Something starts creeping up the stairs when Norman returns and grabs an axe to break down the door.
Yes, Eddie?
Keep away from the door!
Yep, I will.
Ah, so close. I mean, he's not as annoying as you lot made him out to be, but that doesn't mean I still wouldn't like to see a child with an axe buried in his face. Norman lops off the zombie arm and Bob gets chucked downstairs as the father tells Lucy Freudstein actually killed the mistress and Peterson killed himself for some reason. We then get to see the good doctor in the flesh. The parents continue to hack away as Bob discovers the many corpses Freudstein has kept lying around. The doctor then advances on the boy when the parents finally break through.
He needs human victims to renew his cells. It's how he stays alive.
Hold on, how the f do you know that? Did I miss a scene or something? Freudstein then gives Bob the John Travolta touch from Face Off when his parents come to the rescue. Norman tries to ask the doctor a question but is denied, so instead stabs the zombie man, making him bleed maggots, which is just lovely. And this displeases the doctor. Lucy and Bob then try to escape through the cracked tomb lid. Instead of going up the stairs they just came through, and this leads to my poor sweet baby angel Lucy getting got. By being pulled down the stairs and... That's it. Weirdly tame for Fulci. Finally, Bob is about to get it when he's pulled to safety by May and the woman who is revealed to be her mother, Mary Freudstein. Meaning, of course, they're both dead. Sounds of the children crying can be heard as the three walk off into the afterlife or something. We then settle on the house and text appears that reads, "No one will ever know whether the children are monsters or the monsters are children." This is attributed to Henry James, but according to IMDb is actually fabricated by Lucio Fulci himself. The film and the Gates of Hell trilogy then come to an end. Well, that was kind of underwhelming, wasn't it? And also, Bob wasn't that bad. I don't know what the f***'s wrong with you psychopaths. The House by the Cemetery is unfortunately quite the disappointment when compared to its two predecessors. It's slow, repetitive, and features by far the least amount of violence in the series. It also seems to make the least sense, and while sometimes I enjoy things like that, in this film I just found it frustrating. The story is simple enough, with a couple moving into a haunted house which also has a zombie doctor in the basement, I guess. Those ghost noises that freak Lucy out weren't made by the doctor, so what was going on there? And why did everyone think that Norman had been to the house the previous year? Why did he slyly pick up the ring that girl in the opening lost? Had he been there before to bang Miss Rockin' Tits and she was so young people mistook her for his daughter? Or is it some weird merging multiverse where he is the doctor and the daughter is May? And having his throat ripped out is why the zombie doctor can't speak? Or is it all just some H.P. Lovecraft unexplainable bollocks? Oh, and why mention the pills make you hallucinate, then never use that as an element in the story? Onto the characters, and Bob wasn't even that bad, you guys. I actually feel kind of cheated. I was gearing up to do one of my famous long speeches about all the ways in which I would murder him and feast on his flesh, but he was fine. Of course, Katarina McCall as Lucy was wonderful, and I think between this and The Beyond, she improved her American accent somewhat. Norman was a man for the secrets that was played well, but had absolutely no payoff. He just comes to save the day at the end with all the answers he learned somewhere. No idea where, though. How did he know the doctor was replacing his cells, and even more so, how the was he doing that? And also seemed like she was set up to be something she ultimately didn't end up being. I was sure she was working with the evil to hide it from the family, but then she got her head cut off in what was probably my favourite kill in the movie. As I said in the breakdown, I guess she was sent by the estate agent to hide the basement stuff to keep the family there longer. But then why the was she taking the boards off the door on the first night? And why didn't she have a sex scene? Ugh. Whatever. Also, May was fine and the killer doctor himself was nothing. I hated his lack of face, if I'm completely honest. Onto the gore, what the was going on here? As I said, Anne's death was cool, the estate agent's pole to the neck was fine, the opening deaths were okay, and Norman getting his throat ripped out was also fine. Lucy dying by being pulled down the stairs, on the other hand, absolutely atrocious. What the happened, Lucio? Maybe he was purposefully making a film that wasn't as much about the gore, but again, compared to the other two movies, this one seriously disappointed in the human bean juice department. Production-wise, the film also suffers. I get we're going for the haunted house movie vibe, but the film lacks the style of the previous two entries. City had the gothic, The Beyond had the southern horror, but this movie is just kind of plain. That being said, the soundtrack absolutely slaps. Other than that, all your normal departments are fine. I did mention this in the breakdown, but we did did have some rough, abrupt editing in certain moments which made me laugh, and the dub overall was pretty funny. In the end, House by the Cemetery is a fine haunted house film on its own, but in the company of City and the Beyond, it's a massive letdown. It's such a downgrade on the films that came before it, and almost feels like Fulci was running out of steam. It's still of course worth a watch, but if I were to tackle the trilogy for the first time, I think I'd watch this one first, then the Beyond, and end it with City. Anyway, watch it if you like, or don't. I'm not your dad. He's dead. So that was my review of The House by the Cemetery. What do you lot think? As I said, I found the film pretty underwhelming, but only compared to the first two. I think if I watched it on its own, it would have been just fine. I love those other two movies so much, so when this one came on, it was just kind of like, a lot of walking around and calling out for people's names. And the deaths weren't that amazing either. Anne's death was very bloody, but the estate agent only got a little poke in the neck. And no eyes being ripped out. What's going on there? Apparently the estate agent was supposed to get that treatment, but when they did it on set, Lucio Fulci didn't like the effect, so they just scrapped it. I guess there was enough blood to go around, but the amount of scenes of people just walking around that house calling out names made me want to put a gun in my mouth. I guess the doctor's maggot blood and Norman's ripped out throat did help make up for it somewhat. Speaking of which, if you want to see a child looking at a room full of corpses completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. There you can find the uncut version of this review, plus others with more stuff being added every single week. We got the uncut reviews, Patreon exclusive reviews / comic breakdowns on the Discord. And all that can be yours for as little, listen to this, as $3 a month. $3 That's not very much! You can pledge more, I really appreciate it, as I need help to send better anything to every film festival I can around the world. As I said earlier, film festival entries are not cheap, so any way that you can help will be massively appreciated. We want to get this film out and around the country, so hopefully I can meet a producer who wants to fund the next one, which is a lesbian vampire movie. I'm not f***ing around. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and praise be to the Lord Lucio Fulci. Thank you so much for an amazing journey over those past 3 films. I will be checking out one more of your movies next week, and there's a lot more tits in those, so I'm excited. See you then.